Hey everyone, welcome back to my number sense series. In this video, we're going to talk about how to multiply by 999 and 1001. Now, if you haven't watched my videos on 99 and 101, please go watch those first because this is going to be very similar to those, but these problems are going to be a bit harder just because of how big the numbers are. But if you watch those, the ideas are very similar. And so, of course, just like in that video, we'll start by expressing 999 and 1001 as 1000 minus 1 and 1000 plus 1 respectively. For example, here we would write 21 times 1000 minus 1. And here we can then use just FOIL to say it's 21,000 minus 21. Now, in order to help with the subtraction, if this helps you, you can think of 21,000 as being 20,000 plus 1,000 minus 21. And then you can do this operation, 1,000 minus 21 separately, and then add it back onto the 20,000 if that helps you with the computation. You don't have to, of course, but some people do find that this makes it easier. And so either way you do it, you would get it's 20,000 plus 979, which makes your answer 20,979. So that would be how you do 21 times 999, and pretty much that's how every 999 problem goes in the end. So let's try a slightly bigger example. Feel free to pause and try to beat me to it if you would like to. So we are doing 67 times 999. So once again, we're going to write as 1000 minus 1. And so this, by the way, if you have done this enough, this should all be happening in your head, but I am writing it out just for clarity. So then we have 67,000 minus 67. Once again, if this helps you, you might want to think of it as 66,000 plus 1,000 minus 67. But either way, once you do the computation, you will get an answer of 66,933. So not too bad. Now, just like with 99, sometimes they are going to try to disguise the numbers. For example, we had 99 was disguised as maybe 9 times 11. Maybe if you watch that video, 111 could be disguised as 3 times 37. And here, both 999 and 1001 can be disguised quite sneakily because they are large numbers. So please note here, these are very important facts to memorize. 999 equals 27 times 37, which is what we'll use in this problem, and 1001 equals 7 times 11 times 13. So back to the problem. This is not nice at first glance. Now, if you didn't know anything else, if you didn't know what was going on in this problem, you might use FOIL. And FOIL is all right to use here because FOIL, it always works, right? But it's the most time costly, I think, and also the easiest way to make mistakes. So we try to avoid FOIL when we can. And luckily on this problem, we can avoid FOIL by doing some clever factoring. So we have to notice that 81 is a multiple of 27 and 74 is a multiple of 37. So we would see, okay, well, there's a 27 times 37 times some other things. And I know 27 times 37 is 999, which is much nicer to multiply by than just, 74. So let's try to factor it out. We say 81 is 3 times 27. And then we say 74 is 2 times 37. And now we see what's going on. We can multiply these two together. So we would get 27 times 37 times 3 times 2. And that would give us 999 times 6. And just using this here, it is actually even a bit easier than our previous examples. We would get 5,994. Now, some people, if they don't know the 999 trick and they only know the 111 trick, they might actually notice that this equals 54 times 111. And if you know the 111 trick, this is a perfectly valid way to do the problem, actually. But in my opinion, well, actually, they're both about as hard. I do just prefer the cleaner solution 999, but whatever gets you the answer, right? So moving on to 1001, and this is what I consider the easier of the two numbers to multiply by. You'll see quickly why. Because 174 times 1001, well, it's not so hard. 1001 is, of course, 1000 plus 1. So this is 174,000 plus 174. And now you see why this is easy, right? There's no subtraction going on. Subtracting 174 from this number would be pretty bad to do in your head. So we really prefer this addition. And with the addition, we of course get 174, 174. This is the nice thing about 1001. It repeats essentially. Now, I know 11 also repeats, like 7 times 11 is 77, and 101 can also repeat, like 42 times 101 is 4242, but 1001 is simply a bigger number, and that means it can repeat with bigger numbers. For example, 174. If you multiplied 174 times 11, that would not repeat. If you multiplied 174 times 1000 and times 101, that would not repeat. But times 1001, it repeats very obviously. And so any 3-digit number times 1001 is just going to be that number repeated again. But of course, some numbers are too big for even 1001 to repeat. For example, any 4-digit number. So how do we handle 4-digit numbers? Well, we handle it in the same way that we handle 3-digit numbers with 11 or 3-digit numbers with 101, right? We're going to, first of all, let's just see what happens when we FOIL it. So once again, it's 1000 plus 1, so we would get 5382000 or 5.382 million plus 5382. And now, if we try to do the addition vertically, let's look at what happens. So our last 3 digits, we are adding them to 0. So our last 3 digits are actually going to be the same. So you could think of it as almost repeating. So we get 2, 8, and 3. But now our 4th digit, our middle digit, is going to be a 2 plus 5. So it's going to be a 7. And now our first 3 digits are also going to be the same because they are being added to nothing. So it's 5, 3, and 8. So you can kind of notice here that it's almost repeating, right? We have a 538, and we have a 538. We have a 382, we have a 382, but the middle digit is a 7 because it's a 5 plus 2. And this is kind of mirroring like the 11 trick, right? With the 11 trick, if we did something like 23 times 11, we would have 253, where the 5 is 2 plus 3, and something similar for 101. This is, of course, just an effect of the number being too large for the 3 tens from 1000 to fully move them out of the place values of 5382. If that didn't make sense, don't worry, just know how the addition works. So we're going to take the last 3 digits, the middle digit is going to be 5 plus 2, and the first 3 digits are going to be these first 3 digits. So here is our last example. And just like with this one, it is of course disguised, right? 1001 is famously factorable as 7 times 11 times 13. And I would say this is a more important fact to memorize than even 999, even though that is also very important. I would say this is even bigger. 7 times 11 times 13, that's really nice. And so here, if we try to do like 11 times 14 is 154, what's 154 times 39? That's really bad. So we want to look for something clever. And we notice that 39 is 3 times 13 and 14 is 2 times 7. Just remember, when in doubt, thinking about the factorizations of the numbers can help you with finding solutions. And here, of course, it does, because we are able to write this is equal to 11 times 2 times 7 times 3 times 13. And so now, if we group 11, 7, and 13 together, we'll get 7 times 11 times 13 times, parentheses, 2 times 3. And we know that this is equal to 1001. This is, of course, just 6. So our final answer is 6006. Overall, these two tricks are very, very similar to the ones we use with 99 and 101. It's essentially just making them a little bit bigger. But if you understand those, then you understand this. It's all coming back to FOIL again, just 1000 plus or minus 1. It's not so bad in the end, and I hope you memorize especially these prime factorizations because they will be very, very helpful in the future. Thank you.